Alright, you transform yourself and you transform your life subsequently. Shalom everyone, my name is Nakaraya. Today we're going to be bringing awareness to the audience regarding the importance of transformation. Okay, so my father taught me from a very young age that the only thing that you can change is yourself. And because of that, the only thing that you really can control in this life is yourself. And what that means is a couple of things. It has several implications that I've thought of more recently, which is because the implication is you can't change anyone else, right? And the whole thing, the thought process behind that is you don't have as much control of anyone else as you have of yourself. However, especially when you look into the dark psychology of manipulation, because we all are manipulating each other indeed, no matter how you slice it, you have to think that the way that you do change others is by changing yourself. And when you think of it, life is really just a story, and if you're conceited enough to, or narcissistic enough even, to follow along the lines of what I'm going to say here, each and every one of us are the main characters of our individual stories. And so you have to realize, like any good novel, the harder the character arc of the main character's development, the more effect they have on the individuals around them. So, I mean, what's a good show? I mean, my favorite show of all time is Avatar: The Last Airbender. And the biggest, most relevant piece of character development belongs to the one and only Zuko, son of Fire Lord Ozai. Once he aligns within his purpose, guided by the very wise Uncle Iroh, to actually assist the Avatar in learning firebending in his pursuit to overthrowing the Fire Lord to cultivate peace for the four nations, he affects literally every character and essentially the entire world based off of his ability to transform his own character. I didn't intend for this to be an Avatar lesson. This is pretty cool. But if we even just look at, because he goes on a trip with essentially every one of Team Avatar except for Toph, of course, but he goes on this adventure with Aang to learn the true essence of firebending from the original firebenders, which happens to be the dragons. And once Zuko and Aang are enlightened with this beautiful elemental understanding, he's able to successfully teach and learn himself the facets of firebending. And with this, he helps Aang accomplish his goal of mastering all four elements. This then leads to Aang establishing balance within the realm of the four nations, allowing harmony and peace until the next Avatar. And so with that being said, Zuko essentially saved the world in his own magnificent anti-hero way. And so that's a good example of what it is to transform yourself and sort of have your own control on the environment, at least its outcome, based off of the importance of your change. The way that you change influences change in others. That is why the concept of lead by example is so prominent. This guy is doing it right. This guy is doing it in the way that I want to do it. I'm going to do the exact same thing, or at least something similar. And perhaps you'll get the credit. That is the importance of transformation. Now, this actually isn't going to be a long video at all, actually. Huh. Very, very interesting. Okay, so the way that you cycle it back to, or I'm sorry, the way that you actually accomplish self-transformation, this is my my take on it, at least, of course, is introspection. You have to always cycle back to introspection. Take a good time to analyze who you are and who you want to be. Because I'm going to touch on this in future lessons. But what you need to understand is you need to build momentum towards big achievements. Create little landmarks of success so that way you can build the momentum needed to garner big success. And what that may look like is, okay, I want to be this super fit, super physically capable individual of combat, but you've never exercised a day in your life. Maybe what that looks like is doing 10 push-ups every day, and then that evolves into working out twice a week, and then that evolves into combat training, and then that involves you going to the gym and sparring, etc. So you want to build that snowball effect of change, understanding where you are, which is not where you want to be, and understanding where you want to be so vividly that you understand the incremental steps to where you can gain accumulative change over time. But you need to know what the destination is in order to know what address to put into your GPS, so to speak. So, for example, how it looked like for me. And I changed everything. Listen, I am very, very big on self-improvement. And what that looks like is changing literally everything. So once I got the green light, if you will, from the Most High, which is to be wise, which turned into being a wise counselor, which turned into being a PhD in clinical psychology, which I'm currently in the process of doing, I developed a archetypal structure in my mind of what that looks like. What does the Most High want me to be? Okay, he wants me to be a wise counselor. Okay, what does that counselor look like, and how does that mingle with my own personality? Once I have that answer, I now have what I'm striving for. Now, what does that look like? Well, and this is how vivid you have to be, because you might be lazy, and then that makes your goal very ambiguous, and you can't reach an ambiguous goal because that's the definition of ambiguity. You don't really know because it's so fuzzy and somewhat random, so you may get there by chance, you may not. The latter is more possible. Not possible. The latter is more likely. Now, with that being said, what did that look like for me? Well, I knew that I wanted to grow locks for the sake of wisdom and strength within that wisdom. I've always had this liking to beards and beard growth, and longer beards are associated with the wisdom garnered by long periods of time, experience. So those two put together. And then what about the rest of my wardrobe? Well, as you guys all know, I wear these robes pretty much every day. Every day I wear these robes, and I wear these scarves because the scarf is it's almost like a necklace of wisdom of sorts. All of the wise men of ancient times, this is to say like Daniel, for example, my spiritual mentor, as discussed in previous videos, he was a king's counsel. And so Daniel was also a big place of where I started. Like, he's my role model. He's who I'm trying to aspire to. So with that being said, what do I picture Daniel to be like? Well, and then going back to what I strive to be, I strive to have a very, very vast vocabulary, for example. So the person who I'm trying to be has a vast vocabulary. The person who I'm trying to be has an aura about them to where they are approachable, and they look like they're going to be honest with you if you need any sort of psychological or physical help of any sort of kind, any sort of therapy, for example. So, versed in therapy, versed in psychology, versed in philosophy and the wisdom literature, because a lot of the advice, if it's not clinical, is going to be based off of the biblical anthology. What else would that look like? Well, physically fit, so I need to be on top of that. I would think that I would have better penmanship. So I've been working on, you guys probably can't see it, but I've been working on my penmanship because my handwriting wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. So every facet of my existence I needed to change and alter it because I had this vivid picture of what I wanted to be. I now can't use ballpoint pens anymore because I'm a fountain pen kind of guy. Wow, you really can't see that, but it's like the pens from the cartoons. Yeah. I have like 3 of these. I have a whole bunch of disposable ones too. Probably see that a little better. Probably. No? Ooh, look at the ding ding. That was corny. But fountain pens. What else does that look like? Well, with these robes, and these robes have significance because with these robes, it gives me the grounding necessary for biblical tradition. So I know that Christ likely dressed like this. Daniel likely dressed like this, along with the fringes and border of blue, of course. Moses, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, etc. These are individuals within my culture that I aspire to be like because these are the great men of my history. And then when I dress like this, I feel like I have more responsibility. When I walk into a room as a so-called Negro with these robes and this scarf and these locks and this beard of mine, and I speak in a certain fashion that conveys formal professionalism, both spiritually and just academically, people are going to look at me like, well, who the hell is this? What is his angle? And if they're any sort of like malevolent judge of sorts or a heavy criticizer because they think that my appearance is a sort of facade, they're going to be mentally looking for the destruction of my character. And so you can gain, humans are really good at sensing that, especially those who value discernment will be able to discern that information just by looking at someone who's looking at them with a certain expression. So, again, being more careful, right? Because, well, I really represent the Most High now, so now I have to do a really, really bloody good job at holding that illustration in its purity, right? So, and then what else does that look like? Like, you have to really think of these questions. The person that I'm trying to be, what does that person look like in literally every aspect of life? What would they do? How would they think? How would they speak? What would they write down? What would they read? So I read a lot more. I have to read more deeply, right? So I've read, starting from August, I've read 16 books so far, including a whole clinical psychology textbook. Right, so, and then I've been getting faster at reading and better at actually reading aloud and sub-vocalization. What else does that look like? The content that I consume is different now. I listen to Tail Foundry, Jordan Peterson, who are some other guys I watch? There's some other people who I watch. Come on. Charlie Kirk. Some other ones. I listen to a lot of lectures and interviews nowadays to sort of build that foundation in my goals, because eventually I do want to have a lot of interviews in the future. So why not get good at it right now? Get prepared. Be prudent. So ask yourself these questions. Where do you want to be and how are you going to get there? Right? And this is sort of in alignment with the psychological perspective of the alter ego, because it's pretty similar. The alter ego is a little bit more of a competitive approach, because it's like, I want to be here, and my alter ego is slightly better than me. What will my alter ego do in this situation? And I need to do that so that way I can try to beat my alter ego, which really is a fancy way of saying I want to beat myself, right? So it's essentially the same thing. Mine is just a little more light on the competition, or on the competitive side. Not really, but at least in the mind it is. So, I believe that that's everything. Yes. Yep. That's pretty much everything. So, just wanted to spread awareness. That's the homework, if you will, with this curriculum of mine. Think of where you want to be. Find out how to incrementally get there in every aspect of life possible. Along with that, you guys like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that jazz. Hope that you guys stay safe, stay dangerous, and as always, be wise. Shalom.